What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction, and neither of those titles are true this week. We're not at the movie tavern, and we're not really initially reacting to The Last Dance, which we've been doing for the last 3 weeks now. This is week 4. So we're going to be talking about episodes 7 and 8. And joining me once again, as always, Mr. Chuck Livingston from Hooten's Football. Are you doing all right this week, sir?
Doing all right, brother. How are you?
Oh man, I'm just glad we're able to talk about this. This is it's been a rocky road to this connection right here, but it's okay. We're here now. We're talking about it, and I'm really excited to talk about this week, actually, because honestly, those 2 episodes last night were, I think, the best of the series so far. And I know we're getting towards the end. I'm a little sad about that, but I was really excited because this is it's been solid so far. I've loved everything I've seen, but last night felt this is what I came for.
Yeah, I agree. It's these have almost the 2 episodes last night, episodes 7 and 8. To me, they were almost like your motion picture. They had your drama. They had your they teased it some of last week with the gambling and all those things, but this week, the death of Michael Jordan's father, his retirement. Here's a true story. I actually was watching that playoff game, that White Sox Blue Jays playoff game.
Oh, really?
And I'd cut it off to go do homework because it was getting late. I'm a big baseball fan. I'm a Cubs fan, but I'm not a Sox. I like the Sox fine, but so I turned the game off. I was doing homework, and I'd already brushed my teeth. I was going to bed. It was 10 o'clock. And I guess my dad had checked in on Sports Center or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's like, I think Michael Jordan is going to retire tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And it was, it just didn't register. I knew he had been at a game. I didn't know it was the same night. But just imagine that they covered that well. The scene, the media scrum at Michael Jordan's retirement was just unbelievable. Dan Rather, David Stern, all the heavy hitters. They flew in anybody who was anybody from the media game to be at this thing. And again, Michael Jordan, a big star, coming off 3 straight titles, 4 or 5 MVP awards. But it's just think about the people that came to Chicago on this day just to cover this event. That gives you an idea of sort of the global impact of Michael Jordan. And that was, that's kind of what stood out to me. David Stern sitting there, like I said, Dan Rather, all the big sports anchors. What an event. And it was really created for television almost.
Yeah, and that was, when the people were talking about that who, were like, all right, that's one of those moments where you remember where you were at when that was happening and everything. I don't remember it really. I know it happened,
they
obviously. They were full of crap. Well, no, but what year was that? That was spring of 94?
1993.
Oh,
October of 93, yeah.
Okay.
The Bulls were getting ready to go back to camp, and it was just kind of one of those things. I think that Jordan's father's death was kind of the last nail in the coffin because he'd been thinking about it anyway. But by all accounts, he was thinking about going back. It was October. He hadn't retired yet, so it makes you wonder, what went into that. But yeah, it was early October of 93.
Well, so yeah, and just to put that kind of in context for people listening, that's so that would make us 6 or so, maybe. Yeah, newly 6.
Just turned 6, right?
Right. Yeah. So I don't think I really had a grasp on it. I knew I liked watching Michael Jordan play basketball. At that point, I think was about as far as it would go. But you bring up an interesting point there, or an interesting segue to a conversation that they bring up in the documentary, which is, why it was someone in his prime who had just won 3 would suddenly or seemingly all of a sudden be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm ready to play some baseball, because there's always been that conspiracy theory about Stern kicking him out of the league and everything. And I think we touched on this a little bit last week, and if there was any credibility to it, but I was glad they addressed it kind of just outright this week. There wasn't no kind of side glances at that topic. It was just what do you think? They straight up asked David Stern, did you?
Yeah, on the record.
Yeah. Right, yeah. And obviously, I've heard people say, yeah, that was going around, and that was really crap. They say in the documentary that was, a crappy thing to do to him at that time, just having lost his father, blaming his, they go into how the media tried to connect his father's death to his gambling addiction and everything, and then to kind of, soil his retirement with the whole, it's probably just a result of you getting punished by Stern for your gambling addiction as well. So I was really, both of those things they just addressed outright. And, I've heard people say there's no way this could have happened and it been kept a secret for this long, and it, not something have leaked. But I think they also did a really good job of explaining why after his father's death. And you could see in the last episode how dude was just exhausted at the end of that first string of 3 championships, that he was just tired of the lifestyle in general. So, I think there's plenty there to support why he wanted to get out for, the little bit that he did anyway. But
yeah, and I was just going to
say, how did you think they handled those topics?
Yeah, I'm glad they asked Stern on the record and everything, and they asked, Brian McIntyre, who worked for the NBA, and that they all it was just a blanket denial. And I agree, like there would have to be someone at some point who was in those meetings and had let something go. David Stern died earlier this year, so it's like you would think maybe that would be declassified by now. Here's the thing. Michael Jordan played, and we found out later on that he practiced every day like it was his last event. He just went hard as a mug all the time. So, I actually do get why you would get burnt out of, like I said, and I think we talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago. They played deep into the playoffs from 1987 through 1993, and Jordan plays in the Olympics in the summer of '92. The dude's just a machine.
Right.
I think he missed 10 games that entire span. The first three-peat. He's not taking games off. He's not taking practices off, and he's competing at the highest level. Deep into the playoffs. So I think he probably was burnt out. I actually think he was probably going to come back, and his dad's death was the last. You know what I mean? It was kind of the deciding factor, and I understand that. And I do wonder if there were just no real challengers that time. They'd beaten Phoenix, they'd beaten Portland, they'd beaten the Lakers, if he just really didn't feel the challenge anymore. And certainly he got that challenge when he goes to play baseball, and and if nothing else, he just wasn't running roughshod. He had to work at baseball, and he did, but it was just a different sensation for him. I actually believe their side of the story. I just what he does in his personal time is his personal thing, but it just, I think he probably plays that 93-94 season if his dad isn't, murdered. So that's kind of how I see it. But I agree. I'm glad that they did everything they could do. They asked David Stern. They talked to the guys in the league, and everybody said, no, there's no reason to believe that's crazy. And, now maybe we can move on, but I suspect we probably won't.
Yeah, no, probably not. But and also how much money did that lose the NBA not having Michael Jordan, so
exactly.
Stern's not going to want to lose his prime attraction. They talked in the last episode about how fast season tickets for the Bulls sold out and everything, and that's not going to happen without Jordan. So I thought I was happy. I was glad to kind of see, because again, that whole time period of just him leaving, going to play baseball, and then coming back, it's all kind of a blur as far as the actual timeline in my memory. The most solid thing I have to reference that time frame is Space Jam, which got its due finally.
I think episodes 9 and 10 are just about Space Jam and the Jordan Dome, so that's going to be good.
That would be fantastic, because I wanted more of that. I couldn't believe dudes from all over the league were flying in to LA over a summer, over their time off, to just play pickup games with Jordan on the set of Space Jam like that.
Now that's something I would definitely do. I would do that today. In fact, all he's got to do is say the word. I'll be there. Oh yeah,
but it was just I wanted to see more of it. Obviously, more of that footage that they had of those games and everything. Because that's, but that also brings up kind of the main theme of these 2 episodes, which is his work ethic, how that work ethic impacted teammates and others around him, and just I think these were 2 of my favorites, just because it finally dug into what makes Michael Jordan Michael Jordan. This is he's a super competitor. Like, there's a select few of people who have that type of drive in a certain arena to be that good, to be the best. And it just, like, the way it kind of carved out in every facet of his life, whether it be baseball or the first round of the Bulls championships, the second round, how it kind of paralleled those two and everything. It just felt like we really dug into who he was as a person this time around and what made him who he was. So I thought they were really well constructed. You could probably get a little lost maybe with the time jumps going back and forth if you're not overly familiar with Jordan's story in general. But I just thought they were really well done, and this was like the most emotionally invested I've been in the doc so far. So I don't know, what were some other highlights for you?
Yeah, as far as the baseball goes, so he starts playing baseball at 31. And he starts his career with a 13-game hitting streak, which again I didn't even realize at the time, but it's like, so he's 31 years old, basically, a year younger than us, going to play AA baseball. I mean, I couldn't hit those dudes at 21, let alone now, So Jordan, is doing well there. They move him to AA for media purposes because they knew there were going to be so much media. I mean, that's unbelievable. They're basically like, also the AA stadium at Birmingham's a bigger stadium than the A-ball stadium, so they probably sold more tickets and all that. So the baseball era for the Chicago Blackhawks, Birmingham Barons, was a financial windfall. Got another great musical montage cue. Fantastic Voyage as he's playing baseball, as he's training and knocking it off. Phenomenal.
So good.
And just dynamite. But yeah, the baseball era was great. I liked hearing, stories about that. He's hitting before the games, he's playing in the games, he's lifting and hitting after the game. He just, whatever he was doing, he wanted to do it right, and he wanted to do it the right way, and he was going to compete it, and that, I think you see that more in baseball than you do basketball, because he's a great basketball player, wasn't a great baseball player, but he still wanted to be, you know what I mean? So he's going to put in the time and the effort to do what it took there. And I think it just showed that he's just that guy. I mean, he's going to go that extra mile. And yeah, he wore on teammates and he knocked out some teammates and all that. But the clip that we saw at the end of episode 7 of him running the drills and he's winning the drills and all that, it's just it was very revealing. Yeah, and it kind of showed you, yeah, Jordan, he's probably tough to play with at times, but he's going to fight for you. He's going to be on your side, and you don't have to worry about Michael Jordan's effort, particularly in the athletic spectrum. So,
right, yeah, like you were saying before we started recording, it was he never asked anybody to do anything he wasn't doing himself, and it's kind of crazy that he didn't get like a it would seemingly be very easy for someone of that status to let it go to their head, to let everything outside the world of what you actually need to focus on distract you from focusing on that. But dude was just like completely like that's, and we talk about the competition. I just loved all the different stories about the individual things he would latch on to so that he could that's all I needed.
LeBradford Smith, George Carl walking past him at the restaurant,
and then Armstrong when he played for the Hornets, and like just that he was like he knew better than that. He knew better than to like go that one game hard because he knew it was going to happen. And of course, MJ with the baseball bat and the cigar in the locker room has made the rounds today on Twitter. But it was he's chomping at the bit. He couldn't wait to get after him. Was you mad about last night? No.
No.
Nope.
Hey, we'll see who's talking trash when it's 0-0. That's when you find out. It's easy to talk trash when you're up or you won the game. But let's see who's talking trash.
Like, and that's the stuff like I've loved so far. Like, he was saying again. We'll repeat this, that before this whole thing started airing, that people were gonna come out of this thinking he's a giant asshole. But I've never found him more endearing, honestly. Like, it's like
I agree. I almost thought he was kind of like an alien, or kind of like just such a crazy being before that it was like he didn't really seem like that relatable. But like for some reason, I say relatable. I mean, I'm a 5'8", bald dude. I mean, he's a 6'6" bald dude. But like,
I was gonna say
there's just something about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, there are more similarities than you would think. But like, he's very like, I mean, just how personally he takes things, his drive to win. He's not really. I mean, Steve Kerr would argue he's not hurting anybody, but like he's building you up, he's toughening you up. What was the line he said? If you're gonna perform in the playoffs against the Knicks or Miami, I mean, if you can't put up with it for me, you're definitely going to get it from them. So
right.
he's building you up, and it really, in a lot of ways, the pattern I've noticed too is that the guys that he's doing it to are guys that maybe he sees more potential than even they do. Scottie Pippen was a guy, Horace Grant. Scott Burrell has emerged in the last couple episodes as the key figure. He's like, Scott, he's a nice guy and all this, but he thought Burrell could be a better player than he was, and Burrell was crucial to the 97-98 team. The Bulls probably don't win the title without him. So if he's investing his time and his effort in you, then he sees something, and he's trying to get it out. Is it the most effective way? I mean, maybe not, but it's also hard to argue with the results.
That's the thing. Like, if the results were different, then he probably would be an a-hole. Like he would probably be regarded as that easy because he was just being one to no effect. But yeah, because he got it done, it's like, oh, well, it works. Like, and in the moment, like we're talking, how long has it been since almost 25 years, 30 years almost that, so it's kind of fun to look back and watch, and knowing the outcome of everything, you're just like, oh, this is great. But like, if you were Steve Kerr in the moment getting punched in the face, like maybe not as funny. Yeah, this dude. This is
what I signed up for.
Right. So I mean, I get it. Like I get it, and I could get how people are still, kind of turned off by that personality and that drive, because some people just you can love it without having that level of drive. But I mean, you could tell, like, the fact that he was the same with baseball as he was with basketball at North Carolina just shows you how consistent he is with that level of dedication. So and there was something else you mentioned that I wanted to touch on too, but I've lost it, but maybe it'll come back around. But I don't know. I loved all the little stories about. And so was the LeBradford, the Bullets guy, was that ended up being made up? He just did that to like give himself
he made
something.
It up, yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, he admitted it. He, I mean, because like he. And Bradford Smith really never heard of it again, but he makes it up, and he's like, they're like, but he did stuff like that all the time. I mean, George Karl.
Bonkers.
I mean, the stories, they just go way back. I mean, the Jerry Krause, Dan Marley thing from the '93 finals. It's always he's the greatest player, and then he also is he's taking everything as a slight, so he's getting extra motivation out of it. I mean, he's a maniacal competitor, and I think that's, in a lot of ways, that's why he was so interesting, because he wanted to win every game. He wanted to win every drill, and it's like a lot of guys say they do, and they probably want to win. They want to win too, but like, are they willing to do the weights, do the drills, run the offense, some guys are, but a lot of guys aren't. Most guys are not, willing to do whatever it takes, and I don't know. It's just part of the Jordan mystique at this point. But it is good that it's kind of being brought to the forefront now, with so many guys talking about it, and Jordan kind of owning it, and even getting kind of emotional talking about it. That's what I'm saying. Like it, if that wasn't real, then I mean, he did a great job selling it, and I bought it. So
no, yeah, the end of episode 7 was just like perfect. Like I know when Hare probably got that footage of him, getting emotional and then just saying like, all right, break. He was just like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing with that right there.
He's like, oh no, this is gonna be, oh, no doubt.
Well, and then
that's gonna be the big shot at the Oscars. It'll be,
dude. It was so good, and I couldn't have clicked on episode 8 fast enough. And and we've talked about this before, but I can't wait to watch all of these like in a single session, just back to back.
One Saturday afternoon. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Like I can't imagine how it will play just straight through. Like I hope that it's just even more powerful than it is right now. But I think the drive is what really came through in these two episodes. Reggie Miller talking about how he was on the set for 12 hours and then doing 3 hours of practice and weight training and all this stuff, like just to be on call the next morning for shooting at 7 a.m. or whatever is insane. But there was who was the interview we have to talk about is old Gary Payton and Jordan's reaction to
the glove.
I have no problem.
I had no problem with the glove. It was the crazy part about that one was it had been teased for like 2 weeks. Like
really?
And like when they released it. Like Hare, I think, tweeted it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
like
man,
maybe it was the Friday or Saturday before episodes 4 and 5. Or 5 and 6 or whatever it was. And when it didn't come up, I was really disappointed. I was like, oh crap, but it made sense, but like, oh, it was, here's the thing. Gary Payton was a great player. He's a Hall of Fame player. Seattle had some awesome teams and he was the best player on those teams for 5 or 6 years. He was an all NBA guard. But the problem is now, like, a lot of people are going to remember him for getting owned by MJ on the thing. And it really sucks for Gary Payton because it's like he was a great player, but it's like when a dude's watching your interview and like watches it and throws his head back and defiantly says, "I have no problem with the glove," no matter what the game said, and Payton was a great defender. It doesn't matter. Like Jordan, it's like, oh man, rip to the glove.
That was exactly my thought. Like, because I fondly remember that Sonics team with him and Sean Kemp, and when he did that, like when that was his reaction, like I was like, wait, is he where we? Oh no! Oh,
he's gonna do it.
There goes his legacy is just shot to hell. And
I think that was a totally legit reaction by MJ too. I don't think there was any sort of fake. I think he legitimately was reacting to it. It was just like, oh, that's a good one, And it's like, oh crap! Like it's like some of these other movie review guys out there who are like, yeah, Tavern Talk, man, they're scared, and like you're looking on the iPad, your knee slapping, and you're like, I have no problem with Movie Co. Mac or whatever the other pretender's name is. I got no problem with Movie Co. Mac.
I was just, it's funny because we've talked about that technique before, like, which is a great way to get like a natural reaction out of him and everything. And I was missing it because I actually thought in episode 7 and even a little last week, I was like, oh man, I wish we'd get another one of those. Like that's just a great technique to use. And so when it cut in the middle of Gary Payton's interview, to like watching it, I was like, oh, I wanted another one, but not like this.
Well, why did you have to ether Gary Payton the glove?
It was
that man had a family.
I know. I was there any interviews we usually talk right after, but now it's been 24 hours since the episode's aired, and I haven't really looked a whole lot online today. Did anybody interview Gary Payton today? Do I need to look up any specific interviews?
No, not that I've seen, but I did see they got George Karl last night on SportsCenter after he was, and they basically asked him like, Gary said that he decided he was going to switch on to MJ. Is that true? And he's like, well, we definitely talked about. He was kind of like him and Han. Who I've been blown away by, and I've been a fan of his for a long time. I mean, as a coach but Steve Kerr, he's really bringing some insight. I mean, other than getting his lights knocked out by Michael Jordan,
right?
Just sort of he talks about the Scottie Pippen, protest when he asked out of the game against the Knicks and all that. Very, very deep. But Steve Kerr's take on it was just he knew he made a mistake. We knew it was going to follow him a long time. We love Scottie. He was our favorite teammate and all that. And it just Kerr's been coaching now. He's been a GM. Steve Kerr's really done about all you can do in the NBA. But it just I found his insights more other than Michael Jordan, who's being I found him to be just a great resource of kind of what's going on with the team and all that. So hat tip to him. And I just want to shout out the 93-94 Bulls. Really one of my probably my favorite Bulls team that didn't win the championship. They won 55 games. They got screwed horribly, and they didn't show this in the Last Dance, but Game 5 at MSG, the Bulls are up 1 point with like less than 10 seconds left, and Hugh Hollins calls a terrible touch foul on Scottie Pippen. The Knicks shoot 2 free throws. They make them both, and they win that game by 1 point. They win in 7. Now that Bulls team wasn't going to win a championship. I mean, they just didn't have the horses, but it would have been sweet to beat the Knicks without MJ. And for the Bulls to really get but they were just like that was like the first year I was like a Bulls fan from like start to finish. Like I kind of paid attention before, but like I just loved those guys, and Scotty was great, and BJ Armstrong and those guys. But like they that was really sad, and the Scottie Pippen incident really kind of leaves it in a sour, Scotty's been the big loser in my opinion so far of this whole thing. His screen time's been cut a lot more than I expected it to be, but also I didn't know about that incident. And he throws the chair the next year. I mean, it's Scottie Pippen is really been they showed just a clip of that last night too, but he just great player. Ideal second banana, but to me, like if you're kind of watching this from like a bird's eye view, it's like, man, like Scottie Pippen's griping a lot, Scottie wants to get paid, Scottie's asking out of the game, Scottie's throwing chairs, it's just he's demanding a trade in 97, 98. It's like, man, Scottie Pippen's kind of a prima donna,
right? That's how it's coming off for sure, which sucks, but it's exactly what they were saying, because when that happened, like he's going to regret it, but it's going to follow him the rest of his life. And like Jordan calling Phil Jackson after the next day and saying that and everything. And Kukoc too. I liked the little highlight of Kukoc, and didn't realize that dude came in clutch on so many games that year.
Came in hot. Yeah.
Dude, that was, and just imagine like if Kukoc hadn't made that shot, we might be looking at Pippen in a different light. Like he told you, but as soon as he made that, Pippen had to be like, damn
it. Or he might have been happy. He's like, crap, like, because if the Bulls lose that, I think they probably trade him that offseason.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't know. How do you come back from that? If he asked out of the game, I don't know. It's just like, he was always so unhappy. It would have just been very interesting. Like, I think the whole NBA looks different but he hits the shot. The Bulls win in Game 4. He dunks on Patrick Ewing. Bulls go to 7 with the Knicks, who end up going to the finals, winning the East. They lose in 7, a tough series to the Rockets, and it was the margin that year in the East. I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, I understand why Michael Jordan went to play baseball. At the same time, I think the Bulls probably win the championship. They probably win 4 straight if he rides it out. But that's one of those things we'll never know.
Do you think if he'd stayed, like never did the baseball thing, that he gets 8?
No, I don't think it's two. And I think they were on fumes in '93. Right. But you look at '94, and like I said, I mean, it's the Bulls at that time. I mean, they're really Michael Jordan away from getting back to the finals, and maybe they beat that Houston team was a juggernaut. That's probably the year they lose, to be honest with you. But like '95, for example, the year that the Magic beat the Bulls, and we saw that, and Horace Grant, our old friend. They get swept by the Rockets. The Rockets were a number 6 seed that year out of the West. I mean, I think that the Bulls, maybe they get another one. Maybe they don't win in 97, 98. I think 6 is probably the right number. Maybe, if they could have beaten Detroit in 1990, they'd probably win that year. But 6 and 8 years is a pretty good run regardless. And I just think it was important for Michael mentally to get right. And the Bulls, they turned over the whole roster from the first 3-peat to the second 3, other than Scotty and Phil Jackson, right. 2 guys who you needed anyway. But, like, other than that, it was a totally different team. And, they probably don't do that if Michael's still there. They were trying to retool on the fly. So I think it worked out fine. But it's a pretty good what if, and especially when you see how close the Bulls really were to beat New York in '94. They had played well against Indiana that year. And again, Houston – Houston beats the Knicks in 7, and the Bulls went to 7 against the Knicks and lost. So Michael Jordan probably swings one of those Knicks games and maybe swings a Rockets game. I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. I don't think the second three-peat happens without that break and without him kind of recharging his batteries and coming back to new challenges. Like you said, he had kind of conquered everything he wanted to conquer, prior to his dad dying and then retiring to play baseball and everything. I liked how they, dove into Michael getting vulnerable about the connection with his dad and, how that had a lot to do with why he retired all of a sudden, and then how tough it was for him to kind of come back and play. And just that footage of him coming back into the locker room after that first championship back. And it was just great stuff.
On Father's Day, no less.
I know, man. That was nuts. Like that whole, just the atmosphere of that footage on that last, or that first championship, after he came back. It just kind of like epitomizes everything you think about, or that I do anyway, like about the 90s Bulls. Like it just kind of, everything about it just felt like I was there and was like back in 96 or whatever that was. And
all over again. Yeah.
It was just cool, man. And I don't know. And then to end it with Miller being like, I'm the, talking about the Pacers and stuff, just like, I'm the dude that's going to finish Michael Jordan's career. Like, it's just like, yes, it's such a good setup for like where this final chapter is going to go. I can't wait.
Oh, it's the Eastern Finals, the NBA Finals are really good. It's these next 2 episodes, and unfortunately they're the last 2, but they're pretty tense moments, so it almost kind of, and Hare's going to do a great job of closing it out, but it almost kind of, wraps itself up in a lot of ways. It's a storybook ending, or it looks like it could be. So, no spoilers here.
No, dude, I'm so excited to watch it. Like I said, I'm sad. I'm sad it's coming to an end. But I can't wait to see what they do with the Blu-ray release, if we get any special features, and just kind of to sit down and watch it back to front in one sitting. So,
yeah, the special features are what I'm living for now. Just the stuff that didn't make it, the interviews. I mean, obviously, I think Jordan will have to sign off on some of the things that go into it. But like, they've got so much video. It was like 3,000 hours of video or something. Like, it's an incredible amount. They had a cameraman or woman with them pretty much every step of the way. So like, I'm just curious about, I just got a couple other little notes here. The late great Craig Sager coming after Jerry Krause from The Word Go, episode 7. The voice of Craig Sager coming up. Are you surprised they've been able to keep their focus with all this backstabbing? And you can see Krause just get flustered, just like, he's just like, oh, there's no backstabbing. There's no backstabbing. I'm not mad. You're mad. Again, I believe Krause deserves more credit than he probably gets on the whole, but he thinks he deserves a lot more credit than he really deserves. But like, right. And that's why that was perfectly on display. But like, Sager asking that was great. Jerry Reinsdorf bemoaning major league owners for trying to play baseball with replacement players. Like, nobody realizes that he owns the White Sox and has owned the White Sox for like 40 years. Like, he's one of the guys who's trying to field replacement players, Jerry. Like, that's why people don't trust Jerry Reinsdorf. You're facetious. You're disingenuous, Reinsdorf. Okay? Like, you were one of the guys. He's still – here's a true story that a lot of people don't talk about. Mark Cuban wanted to buy the Chicago Cubs in 2008, and Reinsdorf was beating the Dallas Mavericks owner. Reinsdorf is like the key guy who kept him away from buying the Cubs, which pissed a lot of Cubs fans off, namely me, because Cuban's a smart owner, and the Mavericks were, of course, the Cubs have won the World Series. They've had some success lately, but like at the time, it was like, man, like the Dallas Mavericks were a laughingstock. This dude buys the team, and they're going to the finals. They're winning championships. Like, let this dude in. But Reinsdorf was jealous of the media. The Cubs are already the bigger draw in Chicago anyway. And then if Mark Cuban shows up, the rock star owner, it's like, oh, this is all,
Right.
But Reinsdorf quickly signs off on the milquetoast, Ricketts family who bought the team in 09, and they're fine. I'm just saying they're not, personality-wise, they're not like you and me. They're kind of quiet, silent, which is fine. I don't care.
They're not on Shark Tank.
They're not on Shark Tank. They're not doing all that. Like Cuban would have had a ball with it. The Ricketts, they're there. They're big fans of the Cubs, and they've run the team, and they won a World Series. But like I'm just saying, their leadership styles are different. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
But anyway, I had to get that off my chest, and like a lot of the Chicago people. Twitter, I was like, when he made that comment, like it was like 5 tweets in a row, and everybody was like, "Shut up, Jerry! Like it's probably your idea, you liar! Like what is this?"
He's
I got you, Jerry Reinsdorf. I got you, son.
Well, and he even from episode 1, people have kind of been on him for like the whole Krause thing. Like, why are you letting this guy just run this whole thing? And so he's always
the buck stops with you. You're the owner. Like
right.
Even if you think that Krause is doing a great job, you've got to know what you've got with Jordan, Pippen, and Phil Jackson. Like
right.
You can listen. You can hire a nutless monkey to put players around Jordan, Pippen, and Phil Jackson, and Rodman if you wanted to do that year anyway. But like anybody could have figured that out. Like the hard part's over when you got 2 franchise guys on your team and a great coach. Like but he wanted to show. That's what I'm saying. So Reinsdorf, for him to just wash his hands and all this it's disingenuous at best.
Yeah, I loved the other reporters too. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, way to go, Craig.
Way to go, Craig. Yeah.
And it was like, and the intro really doesn't get enough attention either. Like I think that's something we haven't brought up yet, but just like all the clips from the newspapers, the video interwoven, it's really the score is great.
I was gonna say I mentioned the score last week, but man, it really took on a life of its own in these last 2 episodes. And I don't know if it was just because like of the building tension and like it became more relevant or whatever, but it was used to great effect in these last 2, and I was just digging it. But what were the other? Do you have any other notes there?
I think that is it for me. I mean, obviously, I wrote down the maniacal chuckle about the glove, but I think we covered that in great detail. That was unbelievable. That was Michael Jordan right there. But
that was that was the moment of the night for me.
By far, and it's been the viral moment of Twitter for the last 24 hours too.
I need to go look at all of them. I haven't really looked today. I need to go check it.
Man, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's pretty much anything. But yeah, it was great. I mean, it's really incredible. I would literally watch 16 episodes of this. But like but I believe they've probably gotten just the choice nugs, just the best storylines and all that, and like I said, this next week, I mean, I think it seems like it's going to be about the '97 championship and then the Eastern Finals and the NBA Finals, and those things are right with watch out for this week, Game 5 of the '97 Finals, the flu game, not the current pandemic we're under. This was probably a food poisoning deal in Utah. Series tied 2-2, and Michael Jordan scores 38 points. I look forward to that, and just to me. And I'm biased, of course, but like Game 6 of the '98 NBA Finals, Michael Jordan playing with a motley crew. I actually got 12 minutes in this ball game, scores 45 points, and makes all the decisive plays down the stretch as the Bulls win championship number 6. It's not a perfect basketball game because he didn't shoot it very well, but it's Game 6 of the '98 Finals it's a masterpiece. And LeBron James has had some great ones, and Kobe Bryant, of course, but Game 6 is it's unbelievable. I still can't. I watched it the other day, and I still can't believe it actually happened. That's how I feel about Michael Jordan.
Game 6 of the '98 Finals. Who are they playing?
The Jazz.
Okay, so
I think it's Yaz. It might be Jazz. I think it's a soft J.
Okay, yeah. Is that a new franchise?
Yeah, it's they moved up from New Orleans. So they're. But apparently all you do is just play music for long periods of time.
That's a new trend in the NBA, I feel like. Yaz. Haven't heard of that.
Yeah, the Yaz.
Yeah, so I know I watched that. I know I did. I remember the Jazz series. I know there were multiple, right?
They beat them in '97 and '98,
okay,
in 6 games each.
So I know I saw that because I hated John Stockton with a passion. And so
I hated him too. Like he got on my nerves. He was a dirty player. I like Karl Malone, because he's kind of cut from that same Jordan mold. He's a big, kind of like a muscle-bound dude and all that. He was tough, but like I also love when Dennis Rodman would piss him off, which I hope we see a lot of that the next week too. Like Rodman just had a way of getting under his skin. It was awesome.
Yeah, they've kind of cut back on, we talked a little bit about Pippen earlier, but Rodman as well. And I mean, that's because they've just kind of layered in the final season, along with the retrospective, basically. And so in building up to what I assume is going to be a lot more focus on it in these last two episodes. And so I'm hoping we'll get a lot more Pippen and Rodman, because I finally watched that Rodman's 30 for 30, for better or worse.
Yes.
Yeah. More tragic than I realized. Even to this day, that dude is a tragic figure. And I kind of feel bad for him, really. Like, I still don't feel like he really knows who he is or wants to be, or not really. You know what I mean? Not really, really. Like, he's got the facade down to a T, but beyond that.
Well, it's crazy, too, because I think that you look at his buddies, Jordan and Pippen, and they're accomplished basketball players, but Rodman is too. Mm-hmm. But they're very confident, like you said. Yeah, you said it best. They know who they are. They, they're comfortable in their abilities and dealing with people. But Rodman still, to this day, I mean, he's still doing outlandish things and all that. And he even admits that this has all been an act and all that. But
right.
Jordan and Pippen, they have their eccentricities, but they're just like a normal dude. Like, I feel like I could I'd love to hang out with Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen, but I just feel like they're richer than me and more famous. But I think we probably talk about the NBA kind of like we are right now, and that'd be it. But Rodman, I get the impression, but yeah, here's the thing: I understand now why Rodman is the way he is. He's really not hurting anybody.
Right.
Maybe he hurt some feelings or whatever. He's kind of acting out in his own way. And I think that's a great way of looking at it. He's still searching for who he is and what he does well and all that. So it's just kind of, he's just different. He's a different cat, but
yeah, no. And just this, I didn't realize all the circumstances of how he got to, the court in the first place, and that he grew 11 inches over a summer in college. This is bonkers.
College, yeah.
That's nuts. That doesn't happen. How does that happen? And but yeah, I mean, that's a whole other episode of the conversation there. But yeah, I hope to see a little more focus on the trio of those three and how the interactions between them and how it played into the second trilogy of championships and everything. But that's a good segue to kind of bring us back around to these last two episodes with defining who Michael is as a person, how consistent he was with his drive and his dedication, and just just as a basketball player in general, you always had that expectation because of his reputation, and the fact that he always delivered on it was just something that is the kind of I just don't feel like you've ever been able to be that reliable on a sports star before in their performance. I mean, maybe in different sports, but at least as far as basketball, it just feels like it's kind of unheard of.
Well, and that's why it was so strange when he returned from baseball and they played the Magic in the playoffs and he's wearing 45, and he wasn't the same guy. A lot of people see it as excuses or whatever, but baseball players, they wear their weight differently than basketball players and everything else. But you could tell he gets hawked down from behind by Nick Anderson in game one. That's something you usually don't see a lot. He didn't shoot the ball well coming back against Orlando. He just wasn't at his best, and it took him a whole offseason to kind of get back in and get the rhythm and all that. So that's why that was such a stunning thing to see Jordan vulnerable, because you really hadn't seen that in so long. Even when Detroit's beating them in the playoffs, he's basically cooking them for 2-3 straight years. That Detroit just had a better team. Pippen wasn't ready, Horace Grant wasn't ready, and the depth of the Pistons won out. And they had the Jordan rules, and if they held Jordan to 30, then they could win the ball game. So you never saw Jordan wounded. Detroit fans will say, "Oh, well, they never beat us," but Jordan was still Jordan. So like that's why when he plays against Orlando, a lot of people are like, "Oh crap, is this over? Like, is he going to be the same guy?" Of course, we now know that he was the same guy. He did it a little different way. He wasn't the high flying, athletic, guy we saw in the first three-peat. He's more of a mid range jumper guy, but he's just as potent on defense. He's a better ball handler, and leadership wise, he had gone to a new level as well. So. In a lot of ways, he was better, and even if it wasn't the kind of crazy, aerodynamic, dunks and other things we'd seen in his first 7 or 8 years in the league.
Yeah, no, and speaking of the Magic again, I wish they'd kind of went into just, and this is totally a personal thing, like I just wanted to see more of the Horace Grant story. Like how all that happened, because I remember him more from the Magic than I do the Bulls. I knew he played for the Bulls. I knew he was a big part of those first 3 wins and everything. But my memory of like watching him play was with the Magic. So, and I know there's a lot of story there with like, his contract being up or something, and he decided to go because
Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah, exactly. Just wouldn't. Wouldn't give him what he was asking for, and so he went to this new franchise down in Florida and everything. And they have their own 30 for 32 in that era of the Magic.
This Magic moment, it's really good. Yeah,
that is. Yeah, the whole Penny Shack, what could have been thing. I need to rewatch that one. I watched that one when it first came out, but yeah, that's. Yeah, I was hoping for a little more on Horace, since he was such a big part of that first team, and and then since they faced him again in those years that Jordan was gone, and then when he came back for that last that tail end of the season or whatever. But no, overall these were, like I said at the top of the show, these were my 2 favorite episodes so far. I didn't think I could get more invested in it, and then this like totally delivered on exactly what I expected from this series, exactly what I wanted from it, and now I'm just like, bring it on. Let's go out with a bang here. So I'm insanely excited for this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited and sad, but it's going to be, like I said, I know Hare's going to deliver, and he's going to, I don't know how he's going to do it in these last 2 hours, but he's going to, it's going to be phenomenal. But yeah, I'm excited about it just to see where it goes and where it takes us, and how they wrap it up. And I can't believe it. It'll be 5 weeks on Sunday night, and then it'll have flown by. So.
Definitely. Well, I'm gonna use your segue again, and we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you once again for joining me, Chuck. I appreciate it, and I look forward to our conversation next week. But if you're enjoying this, definitely let your friends know. This isn't exactly what we do all the time, but it's a special set of circumstances right now with this COVID-19 pandemic and everything. So we're trying to do a little something different. I'm not typically a sports guy. I don't watch sports, currently, but I'm a kid of the 90s, and I loved basketball in the 90s. Chuck is, a sports brain. Like, if you have any sports question, this is the guy I would point you towards. So I just appreciate you talking with this novice over here about sports, and I can't wait to finish it up. So anything else for tonight, Chuck, or we'll see you next week?
Wait. What were you talking about? A pandemic? Is there what's a pandemic? What's going on?
Oh, we'll talk after. I'll fill you in.
Okay, I'm gonna go lick this grocery cart out front real quick, but I'll be right back. I'll just
You're gonna want to not.
I got it from Kroger. I stole it. No, the old lady who was coughing into her hand. She pushed it up, and I stole it from the place, and I'm just going to go lick the hand.
Well, at least spray it with Lysol first and then lick that.
I'll get sick if I eat Lysol.
Not as sick as you will if you don't.
Spoiler alert, I've already licked the handle, and I'm not feeling so hot right now.
All right, well, maybe Chuck will be here next week. We don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. I might be on a respirator. We hope he makes it, but
oh, that's terrible. But no, thank you guys for joining us. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. You know what I'm talking about if you've watched the YouTube video before. We appreciate you watching, and we'll talk about the last 2 episodes of The Last Dance next week. Peace.